Hello and welcome to Perfect Presentation Skills. My name is Mike Leput, and during this program I'm going to give you the skills, techniques and confidence to prepare and deliver a powerful presentation at any level. Whether that's a sales presentation, a management presentation, after dinner speech, at a wedding, a prize giving, or whenever you need to stand and deliver with confidence. I know that many people fear public speaking, and yet it can be a very pleasurable and rewarding experience. It can also bring recognition, respect, financial reward, job security, and accelerated promotion. What we're going to cover in this program works. You have within you the ability to inspire and motivate an audience, and you have the will to succeed, which is why you're listening to this program. I'm now going to give you some of the finest advice you'll ever receive on how to prepare and deliver your powerful presentation. As a full-time trainer and motivational speaker, I've used this material to motivate professional speakers in the UK, Europe, USA, and the Far East. What we're going to cover in this program works. It's worked for me, it's worked for thousands of people around the world, and now it can work for you starting now. I'm going to be working with you during this program, but I can't do it all on my own. The only way for this to work, and the only way for you to become a dynamic and confident presenter, is for you to do your bit. You see, this only really works if you do. During the program, I'm going to give you exercises to do, and if you're serious, it's important that you do them. Why? Because they work. Confucius said, "If I hear it, I forget it. If I see it, I remember it, and if I do it, I understand it." If you only listen to this program once, you will forget most of it. If you pause the program, write out and complete the exercises, you will hear it, see it, and do it. Your memory retention and your understanding will be increased. Repetition is the mother of learning, and the more times you listen to this program, the more your understanding, application, and confidence will grow. If you're listening to this in the car, don't be tempted to carry out the exercises while you're driving. So let's start with a simple but powerful tool that you can use when starting to put together any presentation. And here it is. It's called the 7 questions. And here they are. Who, what, when, where, how, why, and what's in it for the audience. What I would like you to do is to write these headings on sheets of paper, at least one sheet per heading. We will then work our way through them, starting with the first sheet, first heading, first question, which is who. Ask yourself this question. Who do you want to be able to present to? It may be to board members, customers, staff, wedding guests, or all of the above. Who do you want to be able to present to? Who will attend each of your presentations? Draw up a list of the groups you will be presenting to and the individuals that are likely to attend, starting with names and job titles if this is a business presentation. Pause the program now, complete your list, and restart the program when you're ready. Okay, now let's look at the what. What are you going to present? Not how, but what. Make a list of the presentation topics you will have to present, the topics you would like to present, and finally a topic that you would just love to be able to present. This is the one, of course, that you will be able to deliver with contagious enthusiasm once you've mastered this program. Make a full list, prioritize your list, and restart the program when you're ready. Now let's look at the when. When will you have to deliver the presentation? When will it have to be ready by? What time will it start? How long will it run for? And what time will it have to end? Pause the program, complete the exercise. Where is next on your list? Where are you going to deliver your presentation? Make a list of all the places where you will deliver this presentation. Think both about the limitations and the opportunities these locations will offer. Think about where you could deliver the presentation. Can you control the location? If so, remember you can't convey quality in a down-market venue. There's something called associated credibility. If you give your presentation in a quality venue with quality fixtures, fittings and service, your ideas are associated with those surroundings. If you're presenting a Rolex watch on a market stall, you're going to have to work very, very hard for people to believe it's the genuine article. What do you want the venue to say about you and your presentation? Pause the program and make a list of the places that you could use for your presentation. Restart the program when you've completed your list. The next on your list is why. Now this is, without a doubt, the most important question of all. Why are you doing this? What do you want to happen as a result of this presentation? And what action or reaction do you want from your audience? If you're an after-dinner speaker, do you want the audience to laugh, relax, and have fun? If so, go back to the who and ask yourself, who are these people? What kind of people are they? What will make them laugh? What would be appropriate? What would make them feel relaxed? What would they consider to be fun? If this is a sales presentation, what do you want to happen as a result? Do you want to leave with a signed order? Or do you want commitment to the next stage of the sale? The questions are, why are you giving this presentation? And what exactly do you want to happen as a result? Pause the program, spend extra time on this exercise. This is not a race, we're not in a hurry to get this thing wrong, so take your time, think it through, write down your thoughts. I'm not going to run away, I'll still be here when you're ready. Pause the program now and continue in your own time. Okay, so far we've looked at who, what, when, where, and that all-important question, why. The next on our list is how. How are you going to deliver this presentation to this audience in this place at this time and get the results that you want? What is going to be the format, the content, the delivery style? Now you do have to be able to answer these questions, but not yet. This is an exercise that you will do once you've completed the program and you can review the skills and techniques that I'm going to give you. You can then decide on the how. At this stage, I want to move on to the next item on our list of 7 questions, which is, what's in it for the audience? When you ask people to attend your presentation, they ask themselves, what's in it for me? If the what's in it for me is big enough, they will attend. When they're listening to your presentation, they're asking, what's in it for me? How does this relate to me? What am I going to get out of this? If there's nothing in it for them, if it's not of interest to them, they will stop listening and you will lose them. They'll be there physically, but mentally they're going to be somewhere else. Remember, your audience is asking, what's in it for me? You will only get the attention during the presentation and the outcome that you want at the end if your audience can relate to the content and see what's in it for them. Think of the audience as a whole and think of each individual and write down what's in it for them as a group and what's in it for the individuals. Do it now. Return to the program when you're ready. At this stage, I'd like to introduce you to my version of RADAR, spelled R-A-D-A-R. It stands for Research, Attention, Desire, Action, and Recap. This serves as a great checklist when putting together your presentation. Under research, ask yourself, who's going to be there? What are their expectations? What level of experience or expertise do they have? What do they want to get from the presentation? What information do I need? Where can I get it? What other research should I do? Attention. How am I going to grab and hold on to their attention? Desire. What is their desire and how can I fulfill it? Action. What action do I want them to take, and how am I going to make that happen? Recap. How am I going to recap and summarize my presentation so that they remember the key points? Using these simple but powerful techniques of the 7 questions, who, what, where, when, why, how, and what's in it for the audience, together with radar, research, attention, desire, action, and recap, you're already on your way to delivering a powerful presentation. Now that you've done your groundwork, let's move on to content. What are you going to say to these people, and how long do you have to get your message across? At this stage, I want you to concentrate on exploring all the possible areas that you could cover in your presentation. Let's assume you're going to give your presentation to the local Women's Institute. You own a golf club and you want them to become members. What could you cover? And how do you get started? Here's a great technique that will help you overcome your writer's block and get started right away. It's called the clock face. What I want you to do is this. I want you to take a plain sheet of paper. Imagine you're going to draw a clock face. Around the outside where the numbers 1 to 12 would normally be, I want you to put 12 circles. In the center, I would like you to draw another circle. In the center circle, I want you to write why you're giving this presentation. What you want to happen as a result, the action you want your audience to take. In this example, write join the golf club. Writing this in the center of the clock will help you remain focused. Now, in circle number 1, write just one thing that you could talk about. For example, golf balls. In number 2, write something else that you could cover. For example, golf shoes. Number 3 might be golf clubs. Continue until you have something written in each of the 12 circles around the outside of the clock. This will force you to come up with 12 different areas that you could cover. Now you have the idea of how this works, do another clock. This time I want you to think of a presentation that you are going to give. Write in the center of the clock your reason for doing the presentation or what you want to happen as a result. Think about the 7 questions. Who, what, when, where, why, how, and what's in it for the audience. Think about radar, that's research, attention, desire, action, recap. Now go around the 12 outer circles and write in the topics that you could cover during your presentation. Continue the program when you're ready. Okay, you now have 12 topics that you could cover in your presentation. That doesn't mean to say you will cover them. Let's go back to my example of giving a presentation to members of the Women's Institute. In the center of the clock, I wrote join the golf club. That's what I wanted the audience to do as a result. In number 1 position, I wrote down golf balls as a topic that I could cover. Now, I'm sure there are some professional golfers and golfing enthusiasts that could talk at great length about the technical aspects of a golf ball, because it's of great interest to them. The question is, how interested do we think a non-golf playing member of the Women's Institute is going to be in the technicalities of a golf ball? The answer is 0. So although we could talk about this topic at great length, the questions are, should we cover it at all, and if so, in what depth? One big mistake is to go into too much detail about the things that are of interest to us. The reason we put these topics on a clock face is to remind us that we only have so much time in order to achieve our goal. Now go back to your clock face. Look at the center, the goal, the reason why you're doing this, the outcome that you want, the main focus. Now go around the 12 topics that you have and ask yourself, should I really cover these areas? And if so, in what depth? How much time should I allow? Can the audience relate to this part? Is it of interest to them? And what do they get from it? Also ask yourself, what would they want in the presentation that I haven't already covered? Sometimes it's a good idea to do 2 clock faces. One on what you want to cover, and one through the eyes of the audience. Ask yourself, if I was a member of the Women's Institute, what would I want to know? Now pause the program, go around your clock, and make the decisions about what needs to be added, what stays in, and what gets left out. Remember, it may be of great interest to you, but if it's not of interest to them, it goes. Do it now. Continue when ready. Now you've done that, you can look at the items that are left on your clock and prioritize them in running order of presentation. Do it now. Restart when you're ready. Now you can produce a clock face for each item. If you have one that says costs, this then becomes the center of a new clock, and you can come up with 12 areas related to costs. Then you decide what stays and what goes. So, using the clock face method, you have gone from not knowing what to talk about to generating so many ideas you can't cover them all in the time available. You must focus now on what's interesting and important. What I would like you to do is to go around the clock and put an M, a C, or an E beside each remaining topic. M equals must cover. C equals could cover if time allows. E equals eliminate. Do it now. Continue when you're ready. Now try to put the topics into 4 or 5 groups. Going back to the golf club, the groups may be the club, closing equipment, help and support, social activities, and how to become a member. This will help you in many ways. It will give you a structure, it will provide an agenda for your audience, it will prioritize the sequence, and it will help you with timing. If applicable, you could split a 1-hour presentation into 5 parts and allow 10 minutes for each part. I know 5 times 10 is only 50 minutes, not an hour, but you need to allow time for questions. Now pause the program and put your presentation into 4 or 5 groups and allow timing for each. Remember, the time does not have to be equally divided. Now let's look at structuring the presentation, starting with introduction, content, and summary. Regarding public speaking, Sir Winston Churchill said, "Tell them what you're going to tell them, and tell them what you told them." Let's go back to our golf club presentation. Because we now have this broken down into 5 areas, it's very easy to use as an introduction, content, and summary, whilst at the same time using Churchill's formula of tell them what you're going to tell them, and tell them what you told them. You could say, during our time together, I will cover the club, closing equipment, help and support, social activities, how to become a member, and the very special privileges available to members of the Women's Institute. You can then cover each heading in depth, take questions at the end of each section, then end by using the headings as a recap on what's been covered. This gives the whole thing a nice structure and the audience know where you're up to. Remember, if you want them to join the golf club, it may be an idea to have a membership form on every seat as they arrive, explain the special offer if they join today, and ask them to complete the form and hand it in before they leave. Here's another example, including timings. This time you're presenting a new product to your team. You could say, during this presentation we're going to look at the market, the product, the main features, and the major benefits. Regarding timings, we'll spend 15 minutes on each heading, we'll have a 15-minute question and answer session between each topic, we'll have a 30-minute coffee break, reconvene, and hope to have you away from here by 4:30. The team know exactly what's going to happen, when to ask questions, where you're up to at any one time, and how much time is left. They also have a closing time, so it's less likely to overrun. Pause the program and develop a structure for your presentation, including timings. Return to the program when you're ready. Another method is to use a word as a memory hook. The word in this example is smart. You could say, what we're going to talk about today is smart targets. What does that mean? Well, the S means our targets are going to be very specific. The M means they're measurable, A means they're agreed, R means they're realistic, and T means they're timed. You can then carry on to cover each section in depth and summarize by saying what we've covered today is the principle of smart targets, and if we can make our targets specific, measurable, agreed, realistic and timed, we will have indeed achieved smart targets. What are the advantages of using a word as a memory hook? Number 1 is structure. Number 2, it enables you to have an introduction, a content and a summary. It also applies the Churchill formula of tell them what you're going to tell them, and tell them what you told them. Number 3, using a word as a memory hook helps the audience to remember the word and therefore the message, in this case, smart targets. I know someone who landed himself a job in creative advertising using this method. The interviewer asked, "Why should we employ you?" The applicant responded by writing the letter A on a piece of paper and saying, "You're looking for someone who is actively involved in this field and has achieved in this area." He then wrote the letter N. "You're looking for someone who needs a challenge." He then wrote the letter D and said you want someone who is dedicated to being creative. He then wrote the letter Y and said you're looking for someone who is young, enthusiastic and willing to work hard. If you put together the letters A, N, D, Y, that spells Andy. That's my name, I'm creative, I'm a high achiever, I'm looking for a challenge, I'm hard-working, and I'm the right man for this job. Okay, over to you. Come up with a word that you can use as a memory hook and build a short presentation around it. Pause the program, continue when you're ready. Let's look at another tool, this time the 4 Ps. The current position, the problem, the possibilities, and the proposal. Prepare a presentation that starts by looking at the current position, moves on to the problems that are being caused, looks at the possible solutions, and finally delivers your proposal for solving the problem. You can use the 4 Ps as your introduction, your content, and your summary. Give it a try. The next method is the need, the solution, the features, the benefit, and the proof. Using this method, we will spell out what needs to happen. We then go straight to the solution. We spell out the features of the solution, and we state the benefits to the audience. We then provide proof that it has worked for other people, companies, or departments. Pause the program and develop a presentation stating the need, solution, features, benefits, and proof statement. Another method is to build the presentation around 1 or 2 words. An example would be the great Ronnie Barker at the BAFTA Awards. He said, "When I look back, I think of just 2 words. So lucky. I was so lucky to be in the right place at the right time. I was so lucky to meet the right people. I was so lucky to have such good friends. And I'm so lucky to be here tonight." I was at a 21st wedding anniversary when the husband made his speech. It started with, "When I think of our marriage, I think of happy days. The last 21 years have been the happiest days of my life." He continued by talking about the happy day when they got married, the happy days they had had together, how today was a happy day, and how they looked forward to the happy days that they would go on to share together. Now it's your turn. Develop a whole presentation around a small number of words. Continue when you're ready. Another technique is to start and finish with the same words. It may go something like this. Your environment. What I'm going to talk about today is your environment. You can now continue with your presentation by talking about the fact that everything they do adds to or detracts from the environment. It's their environment and they can change it. Then you end with your opening words by saying something like, "Remember, ladies and gentlemen, this is your environment." This is a great technique for those who don't know how to end a presentation. Starting and finishing with the same words gives you a very defined start and finish, whilst at the same time reinforcing the message. Other techniques that you can use to open your presentation and grab attention are as follows: a credibility statement, statistics, real-life examples, rhetorical questions, visualization of the future, the patriotic opening, the worthy cause, the pause, an action that surprises or shocks, personalization, jokes, quotations, and repetition. So let's look at them one at a time, starting with the credibility statement. Saying, "Hello, my name is John Smith and I'd like to talk to you about paper and the environment," may not be as powerful as saying, "Hello, my name is John Smith, Managing Director of Smith & Co., Europe's largest supplier of paper widget machinery. I'm President of the Institute of the Paper Manufacturers and founder member of the Paper and Environment Federation." If the audience don't know who you are, if they're asking who is this person and what does he know about the subject, don't leave them guessing. Make a strong credibility statement about you, your company, or your product. If you're going to be introduced as a guest speaker, write your own introduction for the organizers to use. That way the credibility statement comes from a third party and has increased impact. Let's look at starting your presentation with a statistic. 100,000 people do it every day. Did you know that? In fact, 100,000 women do it every day. In fact, 100,000 women in this country do it every day, and 9,000 of them live in this city. Do what? Play golf. Why? Because it's healthy, they keep fit, they make friends, and they have a lot of fun. You may then go on with your credibility statement, "My name is John Smith, Chairman of the Golf Club," etc. Now, I made these figures up for the purpose of demonstrating a point. Obviously, you need to use real figures. This can be a great way to grab attention. Let's look at real-life examples. Using a real-life example to illustrate a point is always more believable and has great impact. What about rhetorical questions? This again is a great way to start a presentation because it grabs attention. If you're addressing a management team, you might start with these questions without waiting for answers. How many days production do you think we lost last year because of absenteeism? And how much has that cost each one of you in lost bonus? Do you think you would have their attention? I believe you would. Rhetorical questions are used by entertainers to build rapport with the audience. The host may come on between acts and say, "What did you think of that? Wasn't that a fantastic act? Don't you wish you could do that? I know I do." At a music festival, it may go something like this. "Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready to rock and roll?" Coming back down to earth, let's look at another use of the rhetorical question. This time we're going to look at the way that you can ask yourself the questions you believe the audience want answered. It may go like this. As part of our budget, we have built in £1 million for interest payments on overseas financing. Will it be enough? Well, our accounts people think we may have overestimated, but we prefer to be cautious in these areas. What about currency fluctuations? Well, we've allowed for that in our calculations and we've forward ordered the major currencies. Of course, there's always the danger of bad payers, but we are offering strong incentives to our distributors for a prompt payment. This can be a great way to preempt and overcome difficult questions that may occur during your presentation. The best way to handle difficult questions is in the preparation. Think about the questions that need answering for your audience and how you can make use of this technique. Continue when ready. What about visualization? Start with a vision of the future that can become reality as a result of your presentation. Here's an example. Imagine being able to retire early with a home in the sun and enough money to last you for the rest of your life. Or imagine never having to wash another cup, saucer, or plate. Martin Luther King, of course, used a vision in his famous speech when he said, "I have a dream." Other examples of how vision could be used are, "I see a time when poor education is a thing of the past." Or you could start your presentation with a combination of the rhetorical question and a vision of the future by saying something like, "What will you see when you look back on this day?" What about the patriotic opening? How does that work? Very simple. My fellow Americans, friends, Romans, countrymen. Or, as a leader of this community, I call upon you. Or what about Lord Nelson? Raise the flag! Send a message! England expects every man to do his duty! Next is the worthy cause. If you believe, as I do, that this is a just and worthy cause, then I know you will want to be part of what is about to happen. Let's now look at the pause. If you pause, if you just stop talking, you will get people's attention. When I got married, I stood up to make my speech. I wanted to say a very special thank you to Sheila, my bride's mother, for all the work that she'd put into making this such a successful day. What actually happened was this. I stood up and said, "I'd like to say a very special thank you to..." And then I had a mental block. I couldn't remember her name. I was looking at Sheila, everyone else was looking at Sheila, and I couldn't remember her name. The room was silent. You could hear a pin drop. And over Sheila's shoulder, I saw my wife's sister starting to cry. Then I remembered Sheila's name and I continued with the rest of my speech. I thought, oh no, they're going to kill me. They're never going to forgive me for this one. Do you know, later, my wife thanked me for the way I had thanked her mother. You drew everyone's attention to her and made her feel so special. It was so nice and so emotional that my sister cried, she said. You see, the pause had got the attention of every guest in the room and created anticipation. The pause can be very powerful. What about an action that shocks? I can remember going to a board meeting in the United States. The president of the company stood up to start the meeting. In silence, he opened his wallet and took out $100, showed it to the audience, and then started to rip the money up into small pieces. He waited until the fragments had landed silently on the boardroom table. He then said his first words. Ladies and gentlemen, the problem you have to solve is costing us $100 an hour. Every hour in every one of our branches. And I want a solution. Do you think he had our attention? You bet he did. By starting with silence, he had combined an action that shocks with the pause to great effect. Let's look at personalization. Try building a personal experience into your presentation, as I did in the last two examples. What about jokes? There are some great joke books out there if you need material, but this is a very dangerous area if you're not a naturally funny person. Only use jokes if they are appropriate for the audience and you feel very comfortable with the content and your own delivery. What about quotations? Do you know, I used to be so impressed when speakers quoted Aristotle, Plato, Sir Winston Churchill and other famous people from history and sport. I thought, boy, these people must be so well read, so knowledgeable. Not true. You simply go to a good bookshop and buy a book of quotations. You can find pages and pages of quotations on any topic. The same with facts and figures. They're available from good bookshops or the web. A point on facts and figures. Did you know we sent 5 container loads to Japan last week? Now tell me, was that a good or a bad number of containers to send? Well, you probably need more information. Let's try that again. We sent 5 container loads to Japan last week. That's our best ever by 20%. Try to help people relate facts and figures and to visualize quantities. For example, as high as a double-decker London bus. Or, that's equivalent to £1 for every man, woman and child in this country. Or, if we could remove the costs in this one area, we could employ another 7 people. Or, if we laid them end to end, these faulty products would stretch from here to Birmingham. Think about how you can add clarity and impact to the facts and figures in your presentation. What about visual aids? Instead of trying to describe an object, have it with you, show a picture, or use a model. Now let's look at repetition. Tony Blair, during his election campaign, used education, education, education. And of course, Ronnie Barker used repetition with his so lucky, so lucky, so lucky speech. You can also use the power of 3. He's tall, dark, and handsome. This product is clean, quiet, and pollution-free. We are a government of the people, with the people, and for the people. Join us for an exciting, educational, and fun-packed day. I vote we do it. We do it together, and we do it now. Repetition is the mother of learning, and if you want the audience to learn your message, try repeating it, which is why the Churchill formula of tell them what you're going to tell them, and tell them what you've told them is so powerful. By the way, this formula is used every day with news broadcasts. You get the headlines, the story, and recap of the headlines. Let's take another look at visual aids. Starting with notes. Once you've decided what you're going to say, you can put your notes onto postcard-sized cards. Number them, put them in a pile with number 1 on top. Now take a hole punch and punch a hole through the top left-hand corner of the cards and place them onto a keyring. You now have everything in running order, it won't get mixed up, and it's very easy to flip over the pages. If you're going on stage and you want to appear to be doing this without notes, you can try this one. Have your notes laid out on a table in the middle of the stage. When you come on, bring a glass of water with you and place it on the table next to your notes. If you need to refer to your notes, you go over to the table and have a drink of water. The audience won't see you reading your notes while you're taking your drink. When I talk about notes in these examples, I'm not talking about a written speech containing every word you're going to say. What I'm talking about are headings, keywords or phrases to act as prompts. This is not a time for joined-up writing, by the way. Have the notes typed in large type that can be read from a distance and in low light. What about handouts? Well, the rule with handouts is don't hand them out. By that I mean don't hand them out during the presentation unless you intend to cover the content both now and together. If you hand it out now and ask them to read it later, they're going to read it now and you'll lose them. Better to tell them they will receive the handout at the end of the presentation. Flip charts. Always use capital letters when writing on flip charts, and remember it has to be read from the back of the room. Here's a great trick that will impress your audience. If you place the flip chart on the stand and flip over the first page, you will notice that you now have a shadow running across the top of the next page. Take a pencil and very lightly write in the shadow some great figures that only you will be able to see. Things like percentage of target, the turnover this time last year, total market size, or whatever will impress your audience. Because you're going to be so close to the flip chart, you will be able to read these figures when needed, but the audience will never spot them. Now you can impress your audience with your ability to apparently remember such great figures at the drop of a hat. At some stage in your presentation, you say, let's see if we can get some figures on the flip chart. Our percentage of target is, and the total market size is, and our turnover this time last year was probably, and you write the appropriate figures in for everyone to see. Very impressive. You can do the same thing with what seems to be a spontaneous drawing of a component map or diagram, when in fact what you're doing is going over a pre-prepared pencil sketch. Although this one does take a little bit more practice, but can be very impressive when well done. Remember, the best ad-lib lines are always the most rehearsed. Another good thing to do is to leave a blank page between any pre-prepared flip chart presentations. This is so that once you've completed a section, you can have a blank page on the flip chart before you go on to the next heading. Never, ever have anything on the flip chart that is not in line with what you're conveying verbally. Because some of the audience will be listening to what you're saying, but others will be reading what's on the flip chart and miss your verbal message. What about PowerPoint and computer-generated graphics? PowerPoint is a powerful tool, but be careful of death by PowerPoint. Don't overdo it. Don't have too many slides and don't have too much going on each slide. In actual fact, you should kiss your overheads. By that I mean keep it short and simple. Put down what you want to say and then ask yourself, how can I remove a half of this and still get the same message across? Like most things of quality, less is more when it comes to overheads. And don't leave anything on the screen that's not in line with your verbal message. By the way, if you're using PowerPoint and you want to create a blank screen at any time, simply press the B key on your laptop and the screen will go blank. Press it again to get the slide back. At this stage, I'd like to talk about the power of visualization, positive self-talk, and mental preparation. You have in your mind the world's most powerful computer. It controls your rate of breathing, it controls your heartbeat, it controls your nervous system, it controls how you feel, and it controls how you perform in front of an audience. And you? Well, you are the computer programmer. Let's look at the placebo effect. A placebo is a pill or a tablet that contains no medical properties. And yet it has been proven to cure patients who believed they were taking real medicine. This is the placebo effect. Now, what about a psychosomatic illness? Well, it's not a real illness. It is, in fact, an imagined illness. What does this mean? Well, it means that you could possibly visit a medical practitioner with a psychosomatic illness, be given a placebo, and be cured. Let me simplify that. You could go to the doctor with nothing wrong with you, he'll give you nothing, and it'll cure you. That is how powerful the mind can be. If the belief is strong enough, the effects can be astonishing. A stigmata is a person who believes they are Jesus. The belief is so strong that they produce marks on their hands and feet resembling the crucified Christ. Voodoo and hypnotism, of course, are other examples of mind programming that can produce extraordinary events. And you are in charge of programming your mind. You can program your mind to produce both negative and positive results by visualization and self-talk. The pictures you see in your mind and the words you say to yourself. And remember, the most powerful words you will ever hear are the words you say to yourself. Because the words create pictures in your mind and chemical reactions in your body. If you're thinking about giving a presentation and saying to yourself, "I'm no good at this. I get nervous. My mouth gets dry. My palms sweat. My stomach knots up." You're writing a program and saving that program in your mind's memory bank. You are seeing yourself giving a bad presentation. You may very well be experiencing these unpleasant physical symptoms as you describe them to yourself. You are now programmed for disaster. You have programmed your mind to produce these symptoms, and the program will be triggered as a self-fulfilling prophecy that is activated when you start your presentation. That is the bad news. The good news is you are in charge of computer programming, and you can write whatever program you like. Henry Ford said, "If you think you can, or if you think you can't, you're absolutely right." So, no more stinking thinking. If you want to get to the top, your attitude will determine your altitude. You must have a positive attitude. Don't allow negative thoughts to enter into your mind. Go on a positive-only mental diet. Tell yourself, this is going to be great. This is going to be great. I've done my homework. I've done my preparation. I'm ready for this. And it's going to be great. Visualize yourself giving a great presentation. Visualize yourself having your audience hanging on your every word. Visualize yourself in total control and enjoying every minute. Visualize yourself ending on a high with the standing ovation that you deserve. Let's look at some do's and don'ts. Don't let negative thoughts get in your way and spoil this beautiful presentation. Don't try to memorize the whole thing at this stage. Don't talk to your notes. They already know what's being covered. Don't talk to the flip chart, the whiteboard or the projection screen. Don't turn your back on the audience or get between the projector and the screen. Don't play with loose change in your pocket, and don't stand to attention. Do arrive early and check all the facilities are okay and the equipment is in working order. By the way, if you're using a radio mic, make sure it is only switched on during the presentation. It is not unknown for the audience to be listening to a private conversation because the previous speaker has gone on walkabout with his radio mic left switched on. Do make a list of all the questions you're likely to be asked, and make sure you have the answers or someone you can refer the questioner to at the end of the presentation. If you're asked a question you weren't expecting, don't bluff, don't panic. Say, "I don't have the information now, but if you give me your contact details at the end of the presentation, I'll make sure that somebody gets back to you." Or you could say, "That's a good question. Does anyone here have any knowledge in this area?" And throw the question open to the audience. Do keep eye contact with members of the audience. Do remember people at the back of the room need to be able to hear you. Do visualize your success. Smile Tell yourself, this is going to be great, this is going to be fantastic, this is going to be brilliant. And practice, 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 practice. And you must practice out loud. You must do this, it's very important. And it's a great help to use a dictaphone. Then, when you practice out loud, you can record the presentation and listen to it. This will help you with timing, editing, and remembering the content. Learn the first 20 to 30 words off by heart, because once you get started, you'll be on a roll. Dress to feel your best. Think of everyone in the audience as your best friend wishing you success. Give it your heart and soul, and most of all, enjoy it. Well, there we have it. A step-by-step guide to powerful presentations. I hope you've enjoyed it. My name is Mike Leput. Thank you for listening, and I wish you every success.
If you're in business, why not train your team as a team? Every day, dynamic companies are tapping into the power of their people. Your staff have ideas, energies, and enthusiasm that can benefit your business. Our job at MLP Training is to help you develop your team and your business to new levels of job satisfaction and company profits. Training your team as a team will mean focusing on the needs of your people, your market, and the success of your company. Why not call today to arrange a meeting? 01204 888826. Alternatively, if you've enjoyed this programme and you're in sales, dial the same number 01204 888826 and ask for details of how to sell and smash targets every month. Or purchase online from www.mlptraining.co.uk.